Yes! Let's go! Let's go. Oh, dude, what happened? Dude, I just want to fight. In what? Well, let me tell you about Contest of Champions. Contest of Champions was a game founded by Kabam in 2014 with a pretty simple premise. It's just superheroes and supervillains from the Marvel Universe fighting each other. The whole point of the game is to fight, to get crystals, to unlock new characters and upgrades for those characters so you can fight better opponents. It's pretty simple, but I really like it. I've been addicted to it for about 5 years now, and most of the time I've spent procrastinating the making of this video has been spent playing Contest of Champions. In this video, I'm going to go over the different reasons why I find this game unique and also why I enjoy it. I'm also going to go over some things that I don't like and I think could use some improvement. This is by no means going to be an in-depth guide into the game, as you're going to see as we delve further into this video essay that this game is fucking massive and there's a lot to learn about it. So it's kind of just going to be a surface level dive into it to get new players up to speed on what they can expect if they want to play this game, as well as giving some of my own thoughts and opinions. To give you guys a feel for the gameplay, I'm going to throw up a video on screen. Well, I'm going to have editor me do that, but I'm going to throw up a video on screen and we'll go through what you would expect to see if you're actually fighting. Why are you still throw it on the screen? In the top left-hand corner, you can see the health bar and the status effects of a fight. Status effects, called buffs or debuffs, depending on if they're beneficial or detrimental to your fight, come in a wide range. I don't know if I can even find something that shows all of them, because there's a lot. All right, now if we take a look at the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the meter. So that is a special meter, and as you take damage or give out damage, then you increase and charge it up, and eventually you can use a special move. Just on top of that, you can also see a striker meter, which is a newer thing that they added, where you can call in another hero to assist you in the fight. Finally, if we take a look in the middle, we can see the moves and the combo meter. The combo meter just keeps track of how many hits in a row you have, and there's some characters that use that to their benefit, and also sometimes it tells you when a status effect has been added. The other thing that you're most likely to see is nodes. Now, nodes are changes to each fight. Sometimes they're the entire quest, sometimes it's just one fight, but nodes change certain things about the fight, and that's where the real challenge of this game comes in. For example, you may see a quest where there's like 4 different nodes. One of them probably going to increase the health and attack of the defender. One of them might add a status effect. For example, it could say both champions are inflicted with heal block. What that means then is that neither champion can regenerate throughout the fight. So then it forces you to change different characters. And nodes are a real challenge because there's so many different things. It could be something as simple as each champion gets a random buff every 5 seconds or something. It could be something like champions only take damage from specials. They don't take damage from basic attacks. Nodes add a challenge to the game that can be hard to navigate. The game modes could be split into 3 main categories, where it's player versus computer, player versus other players, or co-op modes, where you're working either with one or multiple other players to accomplish a task. The main player versus computer mode has to do with the quests. There's a really in-depth story in this game. I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of been skipping it anytime I do a quest because I just want my rewards. But it is actually really good, and the artists do put a ton of work into making an immersive and in-depth story. There's different types of quests too. There's the main story quest. There's usually a monthly event that changes every month and has a new story, usually around a new character that's been added to the game, or maybe whatever Marvel is releasing at the time. There are some other side quests that serve as a challenge or to give you bonus rewards as you play the game. PvP, I think, is where this game really shines. There's 2 different types of main PvP modes. There's the arena, which is just a 3v3, where you pick 3 champions and you try to beat another person. But this game really shines in the battleground. Battlegrounds is one of my favorite modes in this game, but it's also one of the most frustrating. It consists of two players who pick their 30 best characters, and then they go through different phases, banning and picking the characters they want in order to do 3 rounds where each player gets an attacker and a defender, and they try to go head to head to see who will win a best of 3. Now, that may sound like a mouthful, but editor me put up an example on the screen. Um, Now, I have some problems with this for a couple of reasons. One, and this is something I'll touch on later, but Contest of Champions is very pay to win, and it's possible for free to play players, which is probably the only reason I do still play this game, because the devs have added things that help you progress as a free to play player. But one of the modes where it's pretty obvious if you're free to play or not is in Battlegrounds, because every time a new character is added, the fastest way to get it is just to pay for it. And I ain't doing all that. I'm not about to spend money on a video game, especially not a mobile game. Oftentimes, I find myself in fights where it's just not even close. Unfortunately, there's just nothing I can do if my average, if like my best guy is, say, like 24,000 power and their average guy is 30,000 power, like I just can't. That's unwinnable for me. It doesn't matter how good of a player I am, it doesn't matter who I have, it just is unwinnable. And that is kind of frustrating. But like I said, the devs put things that allow you to progress as a free to play player. There's 2 main co op modes. There are alliance events and incursions. Incursions are pretty simple, they're just a 2-person quest that you try to go together and beat different stages and see how far you can progress. And alliance events are something that is pretty common in mobile gaming now. In Contest of Champions, it allows you to do 2 main modes. They just added another third one called the Gladiator Circuit, I think it's what it's called. Someone might have to double check me on that. I'm not good enough to play in it yet. Like I've tried, but I'm just not very good. I don't have the characters. But the main 2 alliance modes are alliance quests, which are pretty self-explanatory quests that you do with your alliance, and alliance wars. In alliance wars, you set your defenders, the other alliance sets their defenders, and then each attack the other person's defenders, and whoever has a higher score wins. But that leads me to my next point, the characters. There are so many characters in this game. I haven't counted. My guess is it's in the thousands, especially because there's 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star, 6 star, and now 7 stars. For most characters, you can collect from 1 to 7 stars, with some exceptions, but I don't really want to get into that now. I just want my Quake. This game really shines with the cast of characters that they use. One thing that could be a positive or negative part of the game, but I think makes it really interesting, is because they use Marvel characters, a lot of the characters that are really overpowered and that a lot of people use are not main characters in the Marvel universe, whether that be in comics or in the MCU. Characters like Serpent, who is not a very well-known character in the comics, he's Odin's brother, but he's really powerful, so a lot of people use him. I do like that it gives different characters a chance to shine. It's not just the same, Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, but there is a downside to that too, and the downside is that this game has faced a lot of power creep as the game has grown and expanded. So a lot of the original characters, think your Iron Mans, your Thors, your Spider-Mans, are not as powerful as they should be because the newer characters that get released are broken. That being said, I do like that they have a ton of different options for who you can play. And if we circle back to the nodes, that's one of the reasons why this game is such a wide cast of characters, because each character has their own unique specials and their own unique abilities. A character that may be really useless outside of one specific quest can actually win a quest by themselves and could get you a ton of good rewards. The other aspect of characters that I really enjoy is the class system. It's pretty simple. There's 6 different classes. Each class has one that they're strong against and one that they're weak against. It's a pretty simple system. I think it adds a layer to the game that forces you to really have to think about who you're playing with. There's some quests where you may not need a certain type of champion, let's say Mystic. So you could run a squad that has no Mystics. But there's others where you have to only use Mystics. So it really forces you to mix and match the champions that you have. Another aspect of characters that I think is really cool, but I don't really take full advantage of, I don't think, is the synergies. So, because they're Marvel characters, they have pre existing stories and pre existing connections with certain people. For example, you might see a synergy with Wolverine and some of the other X Men. And these synergies add a bonus effect. Some of them are really overpowered, some of them are not as overpowered, but it's another way to mix and match your characters to maximize the benefits that you get from who you upgrade. Also, another thing with the characters is they're just really well designed. Like, the artists on this game are fucking incredible, and some of their designs are movie accurate, some of them are comic accurate, but either way, they do a really good job. And the aesthetics of this game are on point. Like, I haven't even talked about the arenas that you fight in, because there's not that many, but every single one of the arenas is a recognizable place from Marvel Comics and Marvel lore, and they do a really good job making you feel immersed in the environment. I said I would touch on it later, so now I think is a good time to do that. The developers of this game have a really hard challenge ahead of them, especially because the community is very active and very vocal. They are constantly trying to upgrade and innovate the game to make a better experience for the players. Like I said earlier, they're constantly releasing new quests and updates and changes to the game. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. So I kind of want to go through some of those. I think one thing the devs do really well is they're constantly hearing players' feedback and updating and upgrading the quests and overall gameplay experience in general. They tried something new, which uh, didn't go so well, called the Dimensional Arcade, where it's supposed to be a different type of game than the typical fighting game that Contest of Champions is. I remember one that they did was for the Fantastic Four. When that movie came out, that was a pretty good movie. I liked it. At least we finally got a good Fantastic Four movie, but that's a tangent for another time. The current one that they released is not good and actually has received a lot of pushback from the community for several reasons. The one that they released now is a rhythm game, and I don't think it worked out so great. They actually released a fix to it because it was broken on certain devices, so you couldn't even do the basic features that were intended. I think really where they went wrong is the first song of the first level of that is so fucking bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. The worst part about it is it doesn't even match up with the rhythm game that you're supposed to be playing. So the beat is just completely off. I don't know how that happened. It reminds me of Miles' garbage ass beat from Spider Man. I'm not going to subject you guys to that song. Actually, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to subject you guys to that song. The rest of the sound design of this game is really good, actually. Not something that I'm going to showcase here because most of the clips I recorded are just silent, but trust me, take my word for it, the sound effects are actually really good, aside from this Dimensional Arcade. One thing that I think the devs of this game are really good at is communicating with the players, and that goes two ways too. So they constantly are releasing updates and even just updating people on what their progress is. The devs are really good about fixing any bugs or issues, and if there are any, then they usually compensate the players pretty well for, dealing with any issues that they have. But that leads me to my next point. The community of this game is very active and very vocal and really helpful. One of the main tools that I actually use is the Reddit. I think it's in Portuguese. I'm not gonna lie, but they have pictures, so it's really helpful. Things ranging from releasing guides on YouTube of how to beat certain quests, what characters are strong, to releasing lists of all of the different immunities in the game. Like I said, there's a lot of status effects, so having some nerd do this and share it with the rest of the community is really helpful. I also think the community is a big reason why this game is still alive, because people have been playing it for years at this point. That relationship of the community and the developers is one that is really good, I think, and is pretty uncommon for a lot of mobile games. Finally, I'm going to give this game a rating based on certain aspects that I think are important to a mobile game. One, can you play it without Wi-Fi? No. That is actually one of the worst parts about this game. You do need Wi-Fi to play it, but if you have Wi-Fi, works great. Two, is it free to play? Yeah, I'd say it is free to play. Like I said, the devs added certain things like daily quests, which allow even free to play players to progress. Obviously, not as fast as people that are paying, but I'd say overall, this game is fairly free to play. Another thing I rated on is, can you just keep playing it over and over, or is there something that stops it? Say, in this, for example, it's energy. While in theory, yes, you can run out of energy, there are other modes that you can play, and also the devs are pretty good about giving you plenty of energy refills, so if you ever do run out, then you can usually acquire it some other way, or play another mode if you're feeling like it. The final thing I'm going to rate it on is whether or not it's true to the source material. Obviously, these are Marvel characters, so there's a lot of pre-established lore and history, and like I said earlier, their costumes are all fantastic, their designs are really cool, the art style is really cool, and the stories that are involved are really interesting. Overall, I'm going to give this game a Beta Ray Bill out of 10. Please buff Beta Ray Bill, he's my favorite character. Alright, thank you guys for watching. See you in the outro.